trying to plan ahead so that you can actually enjoy the season instead of crashing halfway through it. I get it. I have been really doing the same thing, looking at the calendar, trying to plan things out, also trying to work on spreading things out, and then telling myself, I do this every year. I will tell myself, I am not leaving gift wrapping until the last minute this year. I would love to know how many of you are early gift wrappers and how many of you save it until like Christmas Eve. I have done both, and I definitely will say I prefer the early. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because, for me anyway, it's not about trying to do everything perfectly or have the perfect holiday. It's about knowing my nervous system and my body and making sure that I am supporting it so that I don't have those chronic symptoms coming back during the craziness of December or as I go into the new year. Today's episode, though, we're going to go a little bit deeper than like planning or productivity. We're going to talk about something that could be secretly draining your energy more than shopping or planning or anything like that. And that is navigating extended family dynamics when you have a family that is neurodiverse and you are already not feeling your best and feeling stretched really thin. So let's get started. Welcome to Chronic Health Solutions. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have been where you are, battling chronic health symptoms and chronic illness, things like brain fog, joint pain, and fatigue that made me wonder if I'd ever feel like myself again. After uncovering root causes like stress, poor sleep, and hormone imbalance, I found simple health routines to begin to feel better, one simple habit at a time. Keeping up with your kids is not impossible. Pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time. All right, friend. So for many of us, this season means more gatherings, more expectations, more sensory overwhelm. We often have people who might not understand our symptoms, especially because if you're dealing with chronic symptoms, those can often be invisible, something that people don't see, and so they're less likely to be understanding. And then also, if you have a child who is neurodivergent, you're going to have that child who is going to struggle more with the new routines, with the very crowded, noisy environments, or even just the unpredictable schedule or environment. And all of that can create a perfect storm of stress. So if you have listened to my recent people-pleasing episode that I did during the holiday series that I did last week, then you know that when your body is inflamed, when you're stressed, when you're feeling exhausted, and then on top of that, you're trying to keep everyone else happy, it's just going to make everything worse. Today, we're going to be talking about that same principle, but through the lens of holiday family gatherings, because this is where I think that people-pleasing can often spike the most. So I just want to talk it out, and then let's see if we can come up with a plan to support your nervous system and also help you to be able to enjoy these family gatherings more going in with a plan. So I have had this happen where a few years ago, I walked into a family gathering. I was already feeling stressed out. I personally was struggling with my own health and then had children who were struggling as well. You know, I had been trying to keep up with all the holiday stuff, prepping food, managing my own symptoms, trying to keep my kids in a good place, trying to prep them for going into an environment where things were just going to be different than what they were used to. Just trying to keep everyone at a good pace, at, kind of like that emotional temperature at a good place. And I've done all of this before I even get to the door of this gathering. So then when we finally get there, I am already feeling like my stress levels are high. I feel like my patience is thin. And I notice that I just feel kind of on edge already before walking in. And then, you might hear a comment like, hey, why don't you stay longer? Or, hey, your child's fine. Just let him push through, or let him do this. Or, you look tired. Are you okay? Or it could be something like, hey, what's going on with your kid? Or are you leaving already? And when you have those comments and you're already on high alert, your nervous system just slips into overdrive. And the truth is, holiday gatherings, they can be such a fun, exciting, wonderful time. And they can also activate old family patterns. It can be emotional pressure. It can be guilt. It can be overstimulation. And it also, a lot of times, what I have noticed in the past could be like a sense of misunderstanding, of being misunderstood, and even some feelings of judgment, depending on a specific family situation. And so when you are on top of that, navigating these chronic symptoms, and then also raising neurodivergent child or children, it can just be a lot to manage. And it took me years to realize that I was not struggling with these situations because I was a failure as a parent or as a mom. It was because one, I had a child who struggled in this situation, and I just had to accept the fact of that. And then also my nervous system, I was walking into that already overwhelmed before I even got started into that gathering. So I was setting myself up for failure. And I just want to know, can any of you guys relate to this scenario? Have you had something similar happen? If you have, I want to share and just give you a couple of tips on some ways that we can kind of work through this. The first thing that I find that has been helpful for our family is to have a plan with your spouse before you ever walk in the door. And this is not about like controlling the event. It is about reducing the stress on your nervous system and also just feeling prepared for some possible scenarios that might come up. And we know, because holiday gatherings are a lot of times it's out of the norm. It's not a normal place. We're not going to that place frequently. We might be seeing people that we don't see frequently either. And your body, when you walk into that situation, it knows it. So whenever we can go in with a plan, your body can kind of relax and say, okay, this is what we're doing. I don't have to be constantly on high alert, monitoring, trying to figure out what's going on. And having a plan of like, hey, how long are we planning to stay? What are we going to do if our child becomes overstimulated? What are we going to do if our child has a meltdown? What will our exit plan be if that happens? Who is going to take the lead during like a difficult moment? If someone makes a comment, if someone pressures you, is it going to be you? Is it going to be your spouse? What are you going to say? And I think having a plan that you talk about with each other, for one, it lets you have kind of a safety net. So it gives you that sense of safety in the plan, which allows your body to relax. But then also it helps you to, like I mentioned earlier, kind of decrease some of that hypervigilance that we want to constantly be scanning the environment for danger, because to our body, that's what it is. And I also love the fact that it helps you to feel like you and your spouse are a team working on this together instead of going in by yourself and feeling like you have to manage possibly a difficult situation alone. So here are a few things that you could talk about before the gathering, kind of like I mentioned earlier. What is your plan if your child becomes overstimulated? Maybe it's that you step outside for a minute. Maybe you go find a quiet room. Or maybe it's like, hey, we've tried all of those things and they haven't worked, and so we're going to leave early. And just keep in mind, this is not dramatic. It is you just being responsive as a parent, owning the fact that sometimes these situations are hard for your child, and making a plan of what you can do to make this as enjoyable as possible for everyone. Another thing you can talk about with your spouse is what phrase or phrases will you use if someone pressures you or makes some kind of a comment or something like that. And I find just having some kind of rehearsed, pre-planned comment to respond with that's kind but also firm really helps you to be able to relax in knowing, okay, I have a plan to handle what could be a potentially difficult situation. And I will say my people pleasing episode, that was the episode before this, I can't remember the number. I will link it down in the show notes. It does have some of those pre-planned phrases for you guys to use. So go check that out if you have not yet. But, even something simple like, hey, we're just trying to do what works best for our family today can be a great response that, again, is kind, but also is letting them know this really isn't up for discussion. Okay, the other thing is, how will you support each other? And that's the thing to keep in mind is these difficult family gatherings, it's stressful on everyone. Your children are picking up on your stress. It's also stressful on your spouse. And so how can we all work together as a family to support each other to make sure that this is a good time for everyone? So this can be, maybe one of you, between you and your spouse, one of you takes a lead if it's a difficult conversation. Maybe one of you is watching for your child's cues. Often that's me because I am just more sensitive to that. Maybe it's that one of you are just going to agree, hey, let's check in with each other periodically and see how things are going. In case you missed something that your spouse saw or your spouse saw something that you didn't, just kind of getting a gauge on how are things going and what do we need to do. The other thing you can talk about is how long do you plan to stay? And again, this can always change. If you show up and things are going great, it's like, hey, let's stay even longer because our kids are all doing well. We're all having a great time. But if you show up and things are not going well, okay, at what point do we want to try to say, hey, we don't need to push this any further? And the reason why I love this plan is because if your child is having a difficult time and you make them stay out of guilt or feeling pressure, then they're not going to have good memories from that holiday gathering. And for me, I want to work with my kids and work with them slowly over time so that they can go to a place and have those good memories and feel safe, so that eventually it's not really a thing that's out of the norm or that feels uncomfortable, because they've had past memories and experiences there that are good, that make them feel safe and know that they are okay there. So let's talk about why this matters. Why is it important that we have this plan, that we discuss these things? And I've kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier in the episode, but when you don't discuss these things ahead of time, your body is going to stay stuck in like a constant decision-making mode. It's going to always be scanning your kids, the environment, other people around you, all of that. You're going to be anticipating nonstop, trying to figure out, okay, is this child okay? Have they almost reached their limit? What is going on? On top of that, you're going to be trying to manage social pressure, but also managing it on the fly, because you don't have those prepared responses of knowing, hey, this is how I'm going to handle this situation. And then also you're trying to figure out, how can I, create a firm boundary here that's kind, but also not make things awkward or not offend anyone. You're going to be monitoring your child. You're going to also be potentially dumping more stress onto your already overwhelmed nervous system. And that just is exhausting. Trying to manage all of that is exhausting. So it's no wonder that you dread holiday events. It's no wonder that you think, I don't want to go. So how can we create a plan that sets everyone up for the most success possible without leaving you in a crash afterwards because you've pushed your body so far past the boundaries of what you should have done? And I just think, like I mentioned earlier, when you walk in together with you and your spouse on the same page with a plan, then it's not like I have to manage everything alone. Instead, it's we are a team walking in and working on this together. And just creating that small shift can reduce the stress that you are going to feel, and also help you to just know that you have this plan ready to go. And yeah, it still might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's going to be significantly less uncomfortable than if you just walked in just completely like, hey, let's just see what happens and let it happen to us. All right, friends. So here's what I want you to do. Choose one of your upcoming gatherings that you have. Maybe it's one that you're just not looking forward to. Maybe you've had a bad experience in the past. Maybe it's just completely unknown and you're just not sure how it's going to go. And then just have a 10-minute conversation with your spouse. Decide those things that we discussed. What are we going to do if our child gets overwhelmed or overstimulated? How long will we stay? What will determine whether we stay longer or cut it off shorter? If we need to leave, especially if we need to leave quickly, what is our exit plan? What are we going to say if someone makes a comment? How are we going to support each other throughout this process too? And like I mentioned earlier, this does not have to be a rigid plan, like we must stick to this no matter what. Walk in and just have some flexibility with how things are going and see, okay, maybe we can shift here, maybe we can adjust here. Maybe our child's having a hard time and we tried the quiet room, but that's not working. So then we went outside and everything got better. So now we're thinking, hey, let's try to stay a little bit longer. You can have that flexibility. It does not have to be this rigid, we must do this. The whole point of this is just to help you to feel prepared and calmer walking into these environments. The other thing I want to say is, and maybe I should just do a whole nother episode on this. I would love to hear if you guys would like to hear this from me. You can email me or message me on Facebook or Instagram, is how can we prepare our children for these events? Because I have found that doing certain things helps my kids to be more successful in managing these times of family gatherings that can be a little bit harder for them. So if that's something you guys want to hear from me, please let me know. And I just want to encourage you that I understand how difficult, we expect the holidays to be such a fun and exciting time, and it is. It's a great time for family. But especially when you are a neurodiverse family, it can just create a lot of guilt and a lot of sense of dread. And I have been there before, and I just want you to know that you deserve to have a holiday season that feels good, that feels connecting. I really feel like that's the whole point of the holidays. I mean, obviously we know Jesus is the point of Christmas, but I'm saying from November to December, like when I think of all of the holiday season, together, it really is about family connection. So I think let's figure out a plan so that we can create as much family time and family connection as possible. And if you have not listened to that people pleasing episode, and really it's digging into how that people pleasing is affecting your health on a personal level. So if you have not yet, go check that down in the show notes below or listen to the episode before this. I hope that it will give you some language to use as you're coming up to these difficult situations, or as if you are a people pleaser or a recovering people pleaser like myself, then having these phrases that you can use ahead of time can really diminish the amount of anxiety that you might feel when you're coming upon a difficult situation or when you are trying to set boundaries and that's something that is new for you. It can feel just like a safety net, kind of, to have these prepared phrases ready to go. All right, friends, that is all for this episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you back next time. Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.